checked his watch as he walked through the busy spaceport. His shift would end in 2 hours. The morning had been quiet, just the usual crowd of traders, tourists, and workers moving between ships. New Terra Colony's spaceport was growing bigger every year as more alien species came to trade with humans. Liked his job as a security guard. It was simple work and he was good at it. He had served in the Colonial Defense Force for 8 years before taking this job. The pay was decent and most days were peaceful. The spaceport was louder than usual today. 3 alien ships had arrived in the morning, bringing traders from different worlds. Had seen the small blue-skinned merchant setting up her stall near the food court. She was tiny, maybe 4 feet tall, with skin that looked like it had tiny crystals under it. Her people were rare visitors to human space. Was walking past the main terminal when he heard the first shots. Plasma fire lit up the air in bright purple streaks. People screamed and ran in all directions, dropped behind a concrete barrier and pulled out his sidearm. His training kicked in immediately. He scanned the area, trying to find the shooters. 3 men in black clothes were firing plasma rifles at anything that moved. They wore masks that covered their faces. Could see the symbol on their clothes, the Earth First movement. These were human terrorists who hated aliens and wanted them off human worlds. All aliens must die, one of them shouted, humans first. Felt sick. He had fought alongside many different species during his military service. The idea that humans would attack innocent traders made him angry, but anger would not help right now. He needed to think clearly. More plasma bolts flew through the air. A trader fell, his large blue body smoking. A human woman carrying a child ran past, crying. The terrorists were moving toward the trading area where most of the aliens had set up their shops. Saw the small merchant. She was trapped behind her stall, plasma fire hitting the metal above her head. The bolts were getting closer. In a few seconds, she would be hit. Did not think, he just moved. He ran across the open space, ignoring the plasma fire around him. A bolt hit the ground near his feet, leaving a smoking hole in the floor. Another one passed so close to his head that he felt the heat. The merchant looked up as reached her. Her large purple eyes were wide with fear. She was even smaller up close and she looked very young. "Stay down," shouted. He positioned himself between her and the shooters. A plasma bolt hit in the shoulder. The burning pain was terrible, but he stayed standing. He raised his pistol and fired back at the terrorists. His shot hit one of them in the chest, and the man fell. Another bolt hit in the side. He stumbled but kept firing. The merchant was saying something in her own language. Her voice was high and musical, even through her fear. "Behind me," told her in Galactic Standard, the trade language most aliens knew. "Stay behind me." The second terrorist appeared around a corner, aiming his rifle at them. Shot him twice before the man could fire. The terrorist dropped his weapon and collapsed. The third shooter was farther away, using the crowd for cover. Could not get a clear shot without risking hitting innocent people. A plasma bolt hit the wall next to his head, showering them with hot metal pieces. Felt blood running down his arm and side where the bolts had hit him. The pain was getting worse, but he ignored it. The small alien behind him was counting on him. Colonial security forces were finally arriving. Could hear their boots and their shouted orders, but they were still too far away to help. The last terrorist was getting closer, counted his shots. He had 2 bullets left in his pistol. He would have to make them count. The terrorist stepped out from behind a food cart, his rifle aimed directly at them. Fired once, hitting the man in the arm. The terrorist's shot went wide, hitting the ceiling. Fired his last bullet and hit the terrorist in the chest. The man fell and did not get up. Collapsed to one knee. The burns from the plasma bolts were very painful and he felt dizzy. The merchant was still behind him, but she was no longer hiding. She was touching his injured shoulder with her small hands. "You saved me," she said in broken Galactic Standard. "You could have died." looked at her. Up close, he could see that her crystal-like skin was actually very beautiful. It changed colors slightly as she moved, like looking at a rainbow in water. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She shook her head. "No hurt, you protected me." Colonial security officers surrounded them. A medical team was already working on the injured people. Felt relief wash over him. The attack was over. "Sir, we need to get you to medical right away," one of the medics said. Nodded but kept looking at the small alien. "What is your name?" he asked her. She said, "My name is, what is yours?" She repeated his name carefully like she was memorizing it. "Thank you, I will not forget." As the medics helped to the medical transport, he watched talking to the security officers. She looked small and fragile, but something in her eyes suggested she was stronger than she appeared. Closed his eyes as the transport lifted off. It had been a bad day, but at least no innocent people had died. That was what mattered. He had done his job, he had protected someone who needed help. That was enough. He did not know that the small alien he had saved was much more important than she had told him. He did not know that his simple act of courage would change everything for humanity. All knew was that he had done the right thing. For now, that was all he needed to know. Woke up in a white room that smelled like medicine. His shoulder and side were wrapped in bandages, and he felt tired. The plasma burns were healing, but they still hurt when he moved. A nurse came in to check on him. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes. "How do you feel, mister?" she asked. "Better," said. "When can I leave?" "The doctor wants to keep you here for a few more days. Plasma burns can be tricky. We want to make sure there is no infection." Nodded. He had seen what plasma burns could do if they were not treated properly. He was lucky the shots had not hit anything vital. After the nurse left, heard a soft knock on his door. "Come in," he called. The door opened and stepped inside. She was carrying a small bag and looked nervous. "I hope I am not bothering you," she said in her careful galactic standard. "Not at all," said. He was surprised to see her. "Please sit down." Sat in the chair next to his bed. She was wearing different clothes now, a simple blue dress that matched her skin. She still had that crystal-like quality that made her skin shimmer in the light. "I brought something for you," she said. She opened her bag and took out a small container. "This is medicine from my people. It helps burns heal faster." Looked at the container. It was made of the same crystal-like material as her skin. Inside was a clear liquid that seemed to glow softly. "Is it safe for humans?" he asked. "Yes," said. "We tested it with your doctors first. They say it is good." Watched as carefully applied the medicine to his bandages. Almost immediately, the pain began to lessen. Whatever this stuff was, it worked better than human medicine. "Thank you," said. "This helps a lot." Smiled. It was the first time I'd seen her really smile, and it made her whole face light up. "It is a small thing," she said. "You saved my life." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, then spoke again. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Of course." "Why did you help me? You did not know me. I am not human. You could have died." Thought about her question. It was something he had been asking himself since the attack. "I do not know," he said finally. "I just saw that you needed help and I could not walk away." But why? Many species would not help a stranger. They would think of themselves first. "Maybe," said, "but that is not how I was raised. My parents taught me to help people who are in trouble, no matter who they are." Leaned forward, very interested. "Is this normal for humans?" Laughed. "I think so. Most humans I know would have done the same thing." "Really?" "Really, we have a saying, we are stronger together than apart. It means we work better when we help each other." Was quiet for a long time, thinking about this. "My people are very different," she said finally. "We usually only help our own family and close friends. Helping strangers is unusual." "What are your people like?" asked. He realized he knew very little about the. "We are old," said. "Very old. We have been traveling the stars for many thousands of years, but we mostly keep to ourselves." "Why is that?" Looked uncomfortable. "We have learned that most species cannot be trusted. They fight too much. They want things that belong to others, so we stay away." "But you came here to trade." "Yes," said. "Some of us think we should try again, try to find good people among the other species." Could hear something in her voice that she was not telling him everything, but he did not push. Everyone had their secrets. Over the next 3 days, visited every day. She brought more medicine and sometimes food from her ship. The food was strange but tasty fruits that tasted like music and bread that seemed to glow. They talked about many things, told her about Earth, about his time in the military, about why he became a security guard. Told him about her, which sounded like a place of incredible beauty. Cities that floated in the air, waterfalls that flowed upward, forests where the trees sang in the wind. "It sounds like paradise," said. "It is beautiful," agreed. "But it can be lonely. We do not have many friends outside our own people." "That is too bad," said. "The galaxy is big enough for everyone to be friends." Looked at him with those large purple eyes. "Do you really believe that?" "I do," said. "I have fought alongside many different species. Humans, even some warriors. When we work together, we can do amazing things. Even with species that are very different from you." "Especially then," said. "Different people have different strengths. When you put them together, you get something stronger than any one group could be alone." Nodded slowly, as if she was memorizing his words. On his last day in the hospital, seemed sad. "I must leave soon," she said. "My ship departs tomorrow." "I will miss our talks," said, and he meant it. Despite only knowing her for a few days, he had grown to like the small alien. She was smart and kind, and he enjoyed learning about her people. "I will miss them too," said. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small crystal pendant on a thin chain. "I want you to have this." Took the pendant. It was warm to the touch and seemed to pulse with a soft inner light. "It is beautiful," he said, "but I cannot take something so valuable." "Please," said. "Among my people, when someone saves your life, you give them a token of thanks. It is our way." Put the chain around his neck. The pendant felt right there, like it belonged. "Thank you," he said. "I will treasure it." Smiled her bright smile again. "Remember what you told me about helping others. Remember that some people in the galaxy still believe in being good." "I will," said. After left, sat in his bed and looked out the window. He could see the spaceport in the distance. Ships were taking off and landing, carrying people and goods to different worlds. Tomorrow would be on one of those ships, going back to her mysterious. Touched the pendant. It was smooth and warm, and holding it made him feel calm. He hoped he would see again someday, but he knew the galaxy was a big place. The chances were small. The next morning was discharged from the hospital. He went back to his small apartment near the spaceport and rested. The doctor said he could return to work in a week. As he sat on his balcony that evening, watching the ships in the sky, saw a vessel lifting off. It was sleek and beautiful, like a piece of art that could fly. Wondered if was on that ship. He touched the pendant again and smiled. Whatever happened next, he was glad he had met her. She had reminded him that there were good people in the galaxy, even among species he had never met before. Had no idea that his simple act of kindness had set larger events in motion. He did not know that was already sending messages to her about the human who had risked his life for a stranger. He did not know that those messages would reach very important people and change everything. All knew was that he had made a new friend and learned something new about the galaxy. For now, that was enough. Was back at work for 3 days when the sky changed. He was checking security reports in his office when the lights flickered. Outside, people were stopping to look up at the sky and point. Stepped out of his office to see what was happening. The sky above the spaceport was getting darker, but there were no clouds. Instead, shapes were moving between the stars. Ships, but unlike anything had ever seen before. They were huge and seemed to bend the light around them. When tried to look directly at one, his eyes had trouble focusing, as if the ship was not quite there. The vessels moved without making any sound, sliding through the air like water. More and more ships appeared until they filled the sky. Counted at least 50 of them, from small fighter craft to massive vessels that must have been miles long. The biggest ship was in the center, a beautiful thing that looked like it was made of crystal and starlight. The colony's alarm system started wailing. Its radio crackled with panicked voices from the control tower. "Unknown ships, this is New Terra Colony Control," a voice was saying. "You are entering restricted airspace. Please identify yourself and state your intentions." There was no response from the ships. Ran to the main terminal. People were panicking, trying to get to the emergency shelters. Security guards were trying to keep order, but many of them looked scared too. Governor Harrison was in the main control room with the military commanders. Could see them through the window, arguing and pointing at screens. Some wanted to raise the planetary shields. Others wanted to fire warning shots. "Sir, our weapons are not responding," one technician reported. "The targeting systems cannot lock onto their ships." "What do you mean they cannot lock on?" Governor Harrison demanded. "The computers say there is nothing there to target, sir, but we can see them with our eyes." Felt a chill. The technology was far more advanced than anyone had realized. These ships could apparently make themselves invisible to human weapon systems while still being visible to the naked eye. The biggest ship was now directly over the spaceport. It was slowly descending, getting larger and larger. Could see that it was not made of metal like human ships. It looked like it was grown rather than built, with flowing lines and surfaces that seemed alive. Then a voice spoke from speakers throughout the spaceport. The voice was deep and commanding, speaking perfect galactic standard. "People of New Terra Colony, we mean no harm. We are the Royal Fleet. We request permission to land one ship in your spaceport for diplomatic purposes." Royal Fleet felt his heart skip a beat. He reached up and touched the pendant under his shirt. Governor Harrison's voice came over the speakers. "Vessels, this is Governor Harrison. Why have you come here with such a large fleet?" "We come to speak with one of your people," the voice replied. "We request a meeting with the human." Felt like the air had been sucked out of his lungs. Everyone in the terminal turned to look at him. He could see Governor Harrison through the control room window, staring at him with wide eyes. The radio in his hand crackled. "Report to the control room immediately," Governor Harrison ordered. Walked to the control room in a daze. His legs felt weak. Why would an entire fleet want to speak with him? He was just a security guard. Governor Harrison was waiting for him with the military commanders and several other officials. Everyone looked frightened. The governor said, "What did you do?" "I do not understand," said. "3 days ago you were involved in the terrorist attack," Colonel said. "You saved an alien merchant. Was that alien a—" "Yes, sir, her name was, but she was just a traitor." The governor and the colonel looked at each other. Governor Harrison said carefully, "The Empire has been isolated for over 1,000 years. They do not send royal fleets to talk to security guards about traitors." Before could respond, the voice spoke again. "Governor Harrison, our flagship is now landing in Bay 7. We request that be brought to meet with our king." King whispered. Colonel was already checking his reports. "Bay 7 is being cleared now, but Governor, this could be a trap. We should evacuate and prepare for the worst." "With what?" Governor Harrison asked. "Our weapons cannot even target their ships. If they wanted to destroy us, we could not stop them." Through the control room window, could see the massive flagship settling into Bay 7. The ship was even more beautiful up close. It seemed to pulse with its own light, and the air around it shimmered like heat waves. A ramp extended from the ship to the docking platform. Figures began to emerge. They were, but not like. These were tall and moved with obvious authority. Their crystal-like skin was more pronounced, and they wore clothes that seemed to be made of light itself. At the center of the group was a figure that could only be royalty. He was over 7 feet tall, with skin that looked like polished gemstones. A crown of crystal floated above his head, rotating slowly and casting rainbow patterns on the walls. "That is King or himself," someone whispered. "I have seen pictures in the history books." Felt dizzy. The king of the empire was here for him. "Sir," said to Governor Harrison, "I think there has been a mistake. The alien I saved was just a small trader named. She could not be important enough to bring the king here." Governor Harrison looked at him with sympathy. "I think you saved someone much more important than you realized." The radio crackled again. "Governor Harrison, King, or requests immediate audience with, he will wait on the docking platform." Looked around the room. Everyone was staring at him, waiting to see what he would do. "What should I tell him?" Governor Harrison asked. Thought about the small, kind alien who had visited him in the hospital, who had brought him medicine and talked with him about the galaxy, who had given him the pendant that was now warm against his chest. "Tell him I will come," said. "We do not know what they want," Colonel said. "This could be dangerous." "If they wanted to hurt us, they would have already done it," replied. "Their ships could destroy this entire colony, and we could not stop them." Governor Harrison nodded slowly. "He is right. Are you sure you want to do this?" Thought about his conversation with about helping others, about being stronger together. If the king had come here himself, it must be important. "I am sure," said. 20 minutes later, was walking across the docking platform toward the delegation. He was wearing his best clothes, but he felt very small compared to the tall, elegant aliens waiting for him. King or stepped forward as approached. Up close, the king was even more impressive. His presence seemed to fill the air around him, and his large purple eyes held wisdom that came from centuries of life. The king said in a voice like distant thunder, "You are the human who protected Princess Elle from harm." Princess felt his knees go weak. "Princess," he managed to say. King or smiled, and it transformed his stern face into something warm and kind. "Yes, the small trader you saved was my daughter, Crown Princess Elle of the Empire. She was traveling in disguise, learning about other species." His hand went to the pendant under his shirt. Now he understood why it felt so special. It was not just a trader's thanks. It was a gift from royalty. "I did not know," said weakly. "Of course you did not," the king replied. "That was the point. My daughter wanted to see how other species behaved when they did not know who she was. What she found in you has brought me here." "I do not understand." King Or's expression became serious. "What you did for my daughter has revealed something about humanity that we have never seen in any other species. I have come to make your people an offer that will change everything." Looked back at the control room where Governor Harrison and the others were watching through the windows. Then he looked at the king of the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. "What kind of offer?" he asked. "Come aboard my ship," King Or said, "and I will explain everything." As walked up the ramp into the flagship, he realized his simple act of protecting a stranger was about to change not just his life, but the future of all humanity. The inside of the ship was unlike anything had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of living light that moved and changed colors as they walked. The floors felt soft under his feet, like walking on clouds. Gravity seemed different here too, felt lighter, as if the ship somehow knew how much he weighed and adjusted for him. King Or led him through corridors that were too beautiful to describe. Everything curved and flowed together. There were no hard edges anywhere. Plants that looked like crystals grew from the walls, giving off a soft, pleasant light. "Do not be nervous," the king said as they walked. "You are our honored guest." "This ship is incredible," said, looking around in wonder. "Our people have been building ships for many thousands of years," King Or replied. "We have learned to make them part of us and us part of them." They entered a large room that seemed to be the king's private chambers. The ceiling showed a view of space, with stars that moved slowly above them. Comfortable chairs grew from the floor as they approached. "Please sit," the king said. Sat down carefully. The chair adjusted itself to fit him perfectly. "Before we begin," King Or said, "I want you to see my daughter as she truly is." The air in front of them shimmered and Princess Elle appeared, but this was not the small, simple trader had met. She was tall and graceful, with skin that sparkled like diamonds. Her clothes were made of light that flowed around her like water. A small crown of crystal floated above her head. "Hello," she said, smiling the same bright smile he remembered. Said standing up quickly, "I mean, Your Highness, I am sorry I did not know." "Please sit," she said, laughing. "You saved my life. You do not need to be formal with me." Sat back down, still staring. "You look so different." "I used a disguise device to appear smaller and less important," explained. "I wanted to see how other species really behaved, not how they act when they know they are meeting royalty." "What did you learn?" asked. And her father looked at each other. "That is why we are here," King Or said. "May I ask you some questions?" "Of course, Your Majesty." "When you saw my daughter in danger, what was your first thought?" "Thought back to that moment in the spaceport. I thought that someone was about to be hurt and I could stop it." "You did not think about whether she was important, whether saving her would benefit you somehow?" "No," said, "I just knew she needed help." "And you were willing to die to protect a complete stranger of another species?" Nodded yes. King Or was quiet for a long moment, studying with those ancient purple eyes. "In all our travels across the galaxy," the king said finally, "we have met many different species. Some are very intelligent, some are very strong, some have impressive technology, but in all our long history we have never encountered a species like humanity." "What do you mean?" asked. "Tell me," King Or continued, "is what you did unusual among your people, or would most humans have done the same thing?" Thought about all the humans he had served within the military, about his parents, his friends, his. "Most humans would have done the same thing," he said. "We are taught from childhood to help people who are in trouble. Even people who are not human." "Yes, maybe especially them, because they might not have anyone else to help them." King Or stood up and began packing around the room. His movements were graceful, like a dancer. "My daughter told me about your conversations in the hospital," he said. "About your belief that different species are stronger when they work together. About your idea that the galaxy is big enough for everyone to be friends." "Yes," said, "I believe that." "Most species do not," the king said. "Most species we have met think only of themselves. They help others only when it benefits them. They make alliances only when they are weak and need protection. When they become strong, they break those alliances and take what they want." Felt sad hearing this. "That is terrible." "Yes, it is," King Or agreed. "That is why my people have isolated ourselves for over 1,000 years. We grew tired of being betrayed by species we tried to help." The king stopped packing and looked directly at. "But humanity appears to be different," he said. "My daughter spent days watching humans in your colony. She saw acts of kindness and protection that had no reward. She saw humans helping aliens they had never met before, just because it was the right thing to do." "That sounds like humans," said. "Yes," King Or said, "and that is why I am here." The king sat down across from. When he spoke again, his voice was serious and formal. "I offer your species an alliance with the Empire." Felt his heart stop. "An alliance?" "Yes, A full partnership between our peoples. We will share our technology with you. Our medical knowledge, our engineering, our energy systems. We will help you build better ships, heal diseases, and travel to distant stars. Could hardly believe what he was hearing. They were the most advanced species in the galaxy. Their technology was thousands of years ahead of human science. What would you want in return? Asked. We want humans to be our partners in protecting others, King Or said. Your people have something we have never seen before, the instinct to protect others without expecting anything in return. We want to combine that instinct with our technology. I do not understand. Princess leaned forward. Imagine if every species in the galaxy knew that someone was watching out for them. Someone who would help them not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Someone who would protect the weak from the strong, not to gain power, but because it was right. You want humans to be galactic peacekeepers? Asked. More than that, King Or said. We want to create a new kind of civilization, one based on protection instead of conquest, one where different species work together because they choose to, not because they are forced to. His mind was spinning. This was bigger than anything he had imagined. Why now? He asked. Why after 1,000 years of isolation? Because we are old, the king said sadly. My people have been alive for so long that we have become tired. We are wise, but we have lost much of our passion for life. We need something to believe in again. And you think humans can give you that? I know you can, Princess said. When you protected me, you gave me something I had never felt before. Hope. Hope that there are still good people in the galaxy. Hope that different species can trust each other. King Or stood up again. But this decision is not yours to make alone. This offer is for all humanity. You must take our words back to your leaders. They will not believe me, said. They will believe this, the king said. He held out a crystal device that pulsed with light. This contains a full record of our conversation, as well as detailed information about what we offer. It also contains the location of one of our smaller colonies, where your leaders can send representatives to see our technology for themselves. Took the device carefully. It was warm and seemed to hum with power. There is one more thing, King Or said. This alliance would be exclusive. We would share our technology only with humanity. Other species would have to earn it by proving they can work with you in protecting others. That seems unfair to other species, said. King Or smiled. That is exactly why we want to ally with you. Only a human would worry about fairness to others when offered the greatest prize in the galaxy. Looked at the device in his hands, then at the king and princess. What if our leaders say no? He asked. Then we will respect their decision, King Or said. But I do not think they will refuse. The benefits are too great, and the cost is simply being who you already are. Princess stood up and walked over too. She placed her hand on his shoulder. She said, You saved one life. Now you have the chance to save countless lives across the galaxy. I believe you will make the right choice. Stood up holding the crystal device. Outside the ship, he could see Governor Harrison and the colonial officials waiting nervously on the docking platform. I will take your offer to them, said. But I want you to know I did not protect you because I expected anything in return. I did it because it was right. We know, King Or said. That is exactly why we trust you. As walked toward the ship's exit, he realized that everything was about to change. The simple act of protecting a stranger had opened a door to the stars. Now he had to convince humanity to walk through it. Walked down the ramp from the ship carrying the most important message in human history. Governor Harrison and his staff were waiting for him, their faces full of questions and worry. Governor Harrison said as he approached, What did they want? Held up the crystal device. They want to form an alliance with humanity. They want to share their technology with us. The silence that followed was complete. Even the sounds from the spaceport seemed to fade away. Colonel spoke first. What kind of alliance? They want us to work together to protect other species in the galaxy, said. They will give us their medical knowledge, their engineering, their energy systems. In return, they want humans to help them keep peace between different worlds. That is impossible, one of the officials said. We are just one small colony. We cannot speak for all of humanity. I know, said. That is why they gave me this. He handed the crystal device to Governor Harrison. It contains all the details of their offer and the location where our leaders can send representatives to see their technology. Governor Harrison took the device carefully, as if it might explode. He said, "Do you understand what you are telling us? The Empire has technology that is thousands of years ahead of ours. If this is real, it would change everything." I know, said, but I also know that King or was telling the truth. I could see it in his eyes. Why us? Colonel asked. Why would they choose humanity? Thought about his conversation with the king and princess. How could he explain that they had chosen humans because of something as simple as wanting to help others? Because they think we are different, said finally. They think humans have something special, that we care about protecting others, even when we do not have to. And you believe this? Governor Harrison asked. Yes, said without hesitation. I have served with humans from dozens of different worlds. I have seen them risk their lives for people they did not even know. I think they are right about us. Governor Harrison looked back at the ship, then at the crystal device in his hands. I need to contact Earth immediately, he said. This is too big for a colonial governor to decide. 3 days later was sitting in the same hospital room where he had first talked with Princess. But this time, he was not injured. He was waiting for the most important video call of his life. The screen in front of him flickered to life, showing the President of Earth, the Secretary General of the Colonial Alliance, and several other important officials. Had never spoken to such powerful people before. Mr. the President said, we have reviewed the offer. Our scientists have examined the crystal device you provided. If this is real, it represents the greatest opportunity in human history. It is real, Madam President said. I have seen their technology with my own eyes. We are sending a delegation to the colony location they provided, the Secretary General said. But before we do, we need to understand something. Why did they choose you to deliver this message? You are a security guard on a small colony world. Touched the crystal pendant under his shirt. Because I protected Princess when she was in danger. That showed them something about humans that they had never seen before in other species. And what was that? The President asked. That we help others even when we get nothing in return, said. That we protect people just because it is the right thing to do. The officials looked at each other, could see them thinking, calculating, trying to understand the implications. Mr. the President said, the King has requested that you serve as the first human ambassador to their people. He says you understand both species better than anyone else. Felt dizzy. Madam President, I am not a diplomat. I am just a security guard. You are the human who started this, the Secretary General said. You saved their princess. You carried their message to us. They trust you, and frankly, so do we. What would I have to do? You would live on the first joint human colony, the President explained. You would help both species learn to work together. You would be our representative in building this new alliance. Thought about everything that had happened. A week ago, he had been a simple security guard living a quiet life. Now he was being asked to help shape the future of humanity. Can I think about it? He asked. Of course, the President said. Take all the time you need. After the call ended, walked out onto the balcony of his apartment. The ships were still in orbit, waiting for humanity's answer. As he watched, one of the smaller ships was landing at the spaceport. Princess was coming to visit him again. An hour later, she was sitting across from him in his small living room. She was using her disguise device again, appearing as the small, simple trader he had first met. "Hello," she said, smiling. "Hello," he replied. "I hope you do not mind that I still think of you as not as Princess L." "I prefer it," she said. "That is who I was when we became friends." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. "Your leaders are considering our offer," said. It was not a question. "Yes," said. "They want me to be the first ambassador." "And what do you want?" Looked out the window at the busy spaceport. Ships from many different worlds were taking off and landing, carrying people and goods across the galaxy. Soon, if the alliance was formed, human ships would be traveling to worlds that were currently beyond their reach. "I want to help," said, "but I am scared. This is so much bigger than anything I have ever done." "Do you remember what you told me in the hospital?" asked. "You said that different people have different strengths, and when you put them together, you get something stronger than any one group could be alone." "I remember. That is what this alliance is about. Humans have something my people need, the desire to protect others. We have something humans need, the technology to make that protection effective across the galaxy." Nodded. It made sense when she put it like that. "There is something else," said. "The first joint colony will not just be for humans, and other species will be invited to join if they prove they share our values of protection and cooperation." "Really?" "Yes, we want to create a new kind of society. One where being different is celebrated, where helping others is the highest honor, where no one is left behind." Felt a warm feeling in his chest. That sounded like the kind of galaxy he wanted to live in. "I will do it," he said. "I will be the ambassador." His face lit up with joy. "I was hoping you would say that. I have already asked my father if I can be the ambassador to humanity. So we would be working together." "If you want to," said. "I think we make a good team." Laughed. "A human security guard and a princess. Your father must think that is strange." "My father thinks it is perfect," said. "He says that the best alliances are built on friendship, and we are already friends." 3 months later, stood on the surface of New Hope Colony, the first joint human settlement. The planet was beautiful, with purple skies and crystal forests that sang in the wind. Human and engineers were working together to build cities that combined the best of both technologies. Children from both species played together in the streets, learning each other's languages and customs. Scientists shared knowledge that was advancing both civilizations faster than anyone had thought possible. Medical centers were curing diseases that had plagued both species for centuries. But most importantly, ships were launching every day to protect and help other species across the galaxy. Human teams were stopping wars, delivering aid to disaster zones, and showing the galaxy that cooperation was possible. Wore a new uniform now, the blue and silver of the Galactic Protection Service. On his chest was his old pendant from, now recognized as the symbol of the human alliance. Princess walked up beside him as he watched the latest protection ship launch toward a distant star system, where two species were fighting over water rights. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked, "giving up your quiet life to do this?" Thought about his old apartment, his simple job, his peaceful days at the spaceport. Then he thought about all the lives they had saved, all the conflicts they had prevented, all the species that were now working together instead of fighting. "No," he said, "this is better. This is what I was meant to do." "What we were meant to do," corrected, smiling. Smiled back, "Yes, what we were meant to do." Above them, another ship was lifting off, carrying a mixed crew of humans and 3 other species who had joined the alliance. They were heading to a system where a plague was spreading, carrying medicine and doctors to help however they could. Had learned that protecting someone from gunfire was just the beginning. Real protection meant building a galaxy where everyone could live safely, where different species supported each other, where no one had to face their troubles alone. It had started with one human doing what he thought was right. It had grown into something that was changing the entire galaxy. As and watched the ship disappear into the purple sky, they knew that this was still just the beginning. There were countless worlds out there, countless species who needed help, countless opportunities to prove that cooperation was stronger than conflict. And they would be there, human and working together, protecting others just because it was the right thing to do. The pendant on his chest caught the light of the alien sun and sparkled like a star. It reminded him of the moment when he had first met a small alien trader who needed help. He could never have imagined then where that simple act of kindness would lead. But he was glad he had done it. He was glad he had chosen to protect someone who needed help just because it was right. That choice had changed everything, and it was still changing everything, one life at a time, one world at a time, one species at a time. The galaxy was becoming the place had always believed it could be, big enough for everyone to be friends, strong enough when they worked together, safe enough for all because some people still believed in doing good. And it had all started with a security guard who saw someone in trouble and decided to help.